Hello, everyone, and welcome to Burr Oak State Park, ahead of the Burr Oak Blitz, a PDGA Amateur B-Tier hosted by Kristy Moore on September 25th and 26th. We are excited to bring you a preview of the course. It's a beautiful property, beautiful park, and an incredibly beautiful drive on the way down there. We stopped by the visitor center and they had some really awesome wildlife. There's a little snake and a snapping turtle hanging out in the building, and feature of other wildlife. Don't forget, at the tournament, 6-sided discs will be on site, selling all day, both days. We got your favorite brands, discs, accessories, bags, a bunch of retrievers, and lots more. So stop by and see us. We'll be right there around the visitor center, I'm sure. We also have access to caddy guide information you're going to want. All players will be starting the tournament on hole 10. Out of bounds is only present on holes 10, 11, 1, 8, and 9. Those are the ones around the road. More information on each of those holes later in the video. And each tee has 3 pin positions. The positions indicated by a screw in the sign as seen in the picture on the right. And we have all the distances and pars for you in the video. We begin on hole 10. It's a par 4 in position A. We're seeing the long tee here at 665 feet. Caddy Guide is going to tell us that the road off to the right is out of bounds. It's pretty far from the fairway, but you could get a nasty tree kick to knock you over there. Hole 10 is a great indication of what you're going to be up against on this course. Tight lines, narrow fairways, lots of trees everywhere, and pretty thick rough if you kick off on most of the course here. I'm going to go with my Neutron Tenacity. And I won't say I was going for the hyzer line, but it did look to be available. And get about 160 feet or so down the fairway. Here's our view from the short tee. Characteristic of this course that you're going to see throughout the video is that we can't really see the basket from many of the tee pads. That's very true on this hole. Rich is going with his Luna. Just trying to bite off about 200 feet down the fairway. That's a good shot. And Bill forced to just kind of pitch out from there. If you have time to practice this week ahead of the tournament, I would work on your flick rollers. I would work on your little, 100-foot chip shots that come out of the woods. You run the risk of getting into a lot of army golf here, they call it. Left, right, going across fairways and stuff, much like this shot. And I think I was just trying to bite off more than I needed to. I should point out that we filmed the preview round from hole 1 to 18. So we're picking up our play after we'd already played 9 holes. And it was about 88 degrees, humid and sticky in the woods here. The temperature for the tournament is supposed to be a lot cooler, but we're already pretty tired by this point, and you'll see us wear down pretty bad by 18 and then look quite refreshed on hole 1 in this video. Another thing you're probably going to notice is just how long it takes even for us to show you our preview of this hole. At 480 feet just from the short tee, I think we had something like 10 minutes of footage working our way down this fairway. Multiple shots, different angles, stuff like that. Here's another great shot from Rich. Throws his Castoplast V right down the middle, advances another 200 feet, and he should be able to see the basket for an outside birdie look. Bill's shot took a nasty kick off into the woods, and if you're keeping track from the long tee, I think that is his 4th shot, just again to get back to the fairway and end up right behind another tree. And I believe this may be my 4th shot from the long tee as well. I'm going for like a hyzer flip forehand, and that doesn't really work either. I didn't know a lot about this course when I set up my bag to bring down. Kristy did suggest that I not bring my cart, though Bill did play with his cart and he seemed to do okay. So just keep that in mind as you're watching the preview. If you usually use a cart or a bag, or maybe you switch between them, figure out if you're willing to pull the cart along with you Bill didn't say it was too bad, so. And I go for a little forehand flick there to tap in what I think is a double bogey on this par 4. And I think Bill's looking at the same. We finally made it to the basket. It's a little downhill. A lot of the greens on this course are very protected. Lots of trees around the basket, within 10 feet, within 20 feet. We're already looking pretty weary here. All right, that is your starting hole, hole 10. So no rest for the weary as you get started. We're moving on to hole 11, though. From the long tee, 525 feet. Short tee, 480, another par 4. This is in the position C. You've got out-of-bounds road along the right side of the fairway. You may have seen the car driving there. That's beyond the road as well, or surrounded by concrete. There's also a road long of the basket that you need to keep in mind. This is one of my better tee shots. In the preview, I managed to get a good 250 maybe, or 200 feet or so without hitting a tree, which is not bad. From the short tee, there is kind of a hyzer route over the road if you're willing to gamble with that out of bounds, throwing something over stable. None of us elected to take that route. But this hill filters way down to the left, actually down to hole 12's fairway. And you could easily find yourself way down that hill and having to try and launch it back up to this fairway. And you'll see both of these shots kind of skip and filter in that direction. Bill finds himself a little ways down the hill here. And that's a pretty good shot to get back up into the fairway, but even from there, after 2 shots, he's not going to be able to see the basket. And he's only just ahead of where I am here, and I can't see it either. So I'm going with an FX2 out over the right. There is a big opening there with no trees to the right if you're willing to get out there near the road. Prepare yourself for some of these. You're going to hit a few trees.
How far? Okay. Here comes the charge. No worries, this fine.
All right, we're determined to show you a good shot.
Sorry,
here
Bill, we
somewhere.
weren't recording the last one.
So we threw quite a few shots out there. It's probably why we were so tired, but at any rate, Bill was being a good sport. We should get a decent view of kind of the middle of the fairway here after Rich's upshot here. And there we go. We can finally see the band of the basket there. Slopes downhill. Again, there's a road well long of the basket. I think you'd have a little bit of trouble getting there. And that's one of the things I'm thinking about here with this run for birdie is I'm just trying to make sure it doesn't go too long. So I kind of loft it out to the right and let it fade back. And it does stick behind the basket. We'll clean up our putts here on hole 11. Maybe. And move on to hole 12. All right, so hole 12 is our first kind of split par here. For the long tee, it's a par 4. Short tee is a par 3. This is in the A position. From the long tee, once again, you can't really see the basket, but it does bend off to the right. And that was a great shot from Bill there to land kind of in the middle of the fairway. We're now up to the short tee, 315 feet. And I'm going with a Thrasher that I'm hoping will turn over. But it doesn't really turn over. But again, this being a wooded course, if you can advance, 280 feet down the fairway on a 315-foot hole, it doesn't really matter where you are. You're going to be able to get towards the basket, maybe have a chance to throw it in. There's a great approach there from Bill, so he'll have a putt for birdie from the long tee. That's a nice little turnover there from Rich. Gets unlucky with the tree. And pitches up with his zone right next to the basket. So I think that's a bogey from the short tee. But if you're playing anywhere near par on this course, you're going to be absolutely shredding. I think most divisions are going to be putting in some pretty high scores. Nice little pitch up over the ravine. There are quite a few little creeks and valleys and stuff to watch out for, and also watch your footing. There were a few soft spots that could catch you up. Here we're moving on to one of the shortest and one of the easiest holes on the course, hole 13. The long tee is just 200 feet short, 145, no out of bounds. It's in the A position. It's just right in front of you there. A little backhand turnover, forehand, whatever feels good. This is overturned with my MD3, but that does get almost pin high and then a little bit right. And then I also tried a little hyzer flip with my F5, but didn't get it to turn, and that'll be pin high left. From the short tee, it's just a little bit uphill, so probably the same power, honestly, as the long tee because you're going back up. But pick your most confident disc. You might even be able to jump putt across the creek here. I don't think we really gave it much of a good run here, any of us. We were so tired by this point. Make sure you eat your Wheaties before you come play Burr Oak. It's going to be a marathon. I think it took us over 4 hours to film our preview round. We were throwing multiple shots, multiple putts to try and get some good angles for you. And we also took a few breaks as well. Moving on to hole 14, another gettable par 3 from the long tee, 310 feet. You're going to want something overstable to beat this initial gap either to the left or right of the T sign tree ahead and past the short tee. I'm going to go with my FX2 and try and get around the right and get a skip. And it was doing exactly that until it hit a tree. So not bad. From the short tee, you've got a much better angle. Just 250 feet. You can actually see the basket on this hole. Putter mid-range, fairway driver, whatever you're most confident with to throw a straight line. And this is a really great shot from Bill that maybe just leaks a little left, but that's pin high. And just quick shout out to Rich. He was throwing mostly his Luna and his zone all day, and then pulled out his F5 here and threw what looked like to be a great shot before it hit that tree. So keep an eye out for some really smooth turnover shots with the Luna from Rich here. He was dialed in with it for sure. Also noticed a lot of us had quite a few of these little like forehand and hyzer pitch shots with all the different angles. Another very well protected green. I should also point out on the course is really well marked. While we had U-disc, we didn't really need it to follow the holes. There were signs on the trees that said next tee. And there's even some fairways that, because you can't see the basket that you're throwing for, there will be a sign kind of indicating where you need to go. And there are some examples of that on the front nine I'm going to try and make sure we point out. A little Conrad envy action. We still have some of those. Hole 15 is an interesting shot. This is the long tee, 265 feet, very downhill, does not require a lot of power to get there. I'm going to kind of start off with trying a little James Conrad turnover, and we'll just call that a lazy, tired shank there. That guy's got no energy. So I'm going to go for a forehand with my streamlined flare, probably too overstable, but this is perfect. This gets down within kind of edge of circle putting range. And from the short tee, 190 feet, this is really just like a jump putt down the hill. You don't need to give this a lot of power, so don't overdo it. Rich is even joking about, like, maybe I'll just scuba it. A smooth little putter shot. Oh, and that one almost turned into an ace run. That was a great shot. And I'm actually just going to try that jump putt. I watched Bill and Rich throw this a couple times. So I'm just going to fling my logic down there. I bet it'll get close, and it did. So compared to some of the other holes on the course, I'd say hole 15, definitely a very birdieable hole. So try and get your scoring on the handful of short par threes. Could be a good opportunity to pick up strokes on anyone who's hitting trees and getting unlucky on those ones. We move on to hole 16 from the long. It's 540 feet from the short, 475. It's another par 4. No out of bounds, but there is a steep ravine off to the right. There are opportunities on this course for your disc to get lost way down the hill and to have to rethrow from a previous lie with a penalty stroke. So, you know, ask your card mates to spot for you. Could easily lose some discs out there. That was a good example there. So that kick that Bill took, I think we did find that disc, but it could easily have gone way down the hill. And Rich had a shot on this hole with his Luna that kicked, I don't know, 100 feet or more down this hill that he ended up going back for and finding, I think, an hour after we finished up. But we did not find it while we were on the course. From the short tee, we've got more narrow lines. That shot kind of leaks left near where my initial tee shot landed with my Thrasher. And we're going to see kind of a shot from the right side rough here. Bill's first shot from the long tee. And we still can't see the basket at this point. These like fallen trees in the middle of the fairway just ahead where I'm going to try and pitch this forehand around is about the halfway point. Bill's in a similar position, just pitching out from the right, and actually gets a nice distance down the fairway. I think we should see the basket. Yeah, here we go, right after we kind of crest that hill. There's a steep slope here left to right by the basket, so rollaways are likely. Yep, there's the danger, hitting the cage or missing completely. And again, I do want to point out, this was our almost our next to last hole, and we were absolutely exhausted by this point. So moving on to hole 17, par 4 from the long, par 3 from the short. This is in B position. It's uphill very, very much to the left. So going straight here is not really helpful. You want to get as left as you can. My first tee shot here is with an Infinite Emperor, swirly double G Emperor, and this is going to go way too straight. So, you know, while I threw it 200 some feet, I have still 200 feet left because I'm going kind of away from the basket as that straightens out. Bill puts in a much better line here, a little hyzer line up the hill, though I think that one took a kick. And from the short tee, you know, kind of more of the same. So if you look the way that the camera is going to zoom here, that's the line you want to take. You want to get as far up and to the left as you can. There are some gaps over there, and Bill's going to show us the best route. And I think he might have even been putting for birdie with that shot from the short tee, so that's definitely the ideal route. Even when you get out on this fairway, it's still difficult footing, uphill. We had a lot of tree kicks kind of kicking us away from the basket to the right. I think you can just barely see the band of the basket from where we're at down here. And I'm trying to pitch another flick roller, and I should have thought about the angle of the hill as well and how it was going to take it away from the basket, but we were kind of delirious and dehydrated at this point. So I think this is Bill's first shot from the short tee. And it's actually a pretty good position. He's got a little bit of a route to the basket. I don't know that he needed to go kind of like a full throw there. He probably could have putted that, but there are also some hiking trails out on the course that weave their way through the fairways, and there's a path that goes right by Circle's Edge here on hole 17, so keep an eye out for that. Hole 18 is one of the easiest holes on the course. It's taking you back along the fairway of hole 10 on your left. From the short tee, long tee, 260, short tee, 180. No out of bounds, and it's just a right-hand backhand hyzer shot with like a putter or a mid-range. We're trying to psych ourselves up, give us the energy to finish the last hole here. Bill's going to go through the inside line and get a little skip down there, and that is going to be in position to birdie hole 18. And I'm going with my ESP Malta. I'm going to take a little bit more of an outside line here. Bend around a couple trees, and that is also going to be putting for birdie. From the short tee, 180 feet, you can see the basket once again, and the hyzer route is very open, just kind of straight ahead of you. And it's exactly what Rich throws with his zone. And he was just a tiny bit inside there to catch a tree. Bill goes for an even more extreme kind of inside line, and even that one will work. That's got a putt from maybe 45. If your shot sort of straightens out and doesn't fade off to the left, you're left with a pretty open putt from over here. And that was a great run from Bill from distance. And a nice little chip up shot there from Rich. Big thanks to Rich and Bill for coming down to help me film the preview round. Much appreciated. But while this might be hole 18, we're only halfway there. We're back to hole 1 at the parking lot. Hole 1 is a long one. Par 3 from the short, 4 from the long. It's 600 feet from the long tee. I threw my thrasher that turned over and got back out onto the right side of the fairway, but there is a big opening on the left side of the fairway, which is where this shot is going to go, inbounds. You do have OB Road on the left side here, so if you cross or land in the concrete, you're going to be out of bounds. The view from the short tee here will show you where the basket is. This is one of only 3 open holes on the course, so air it out when you get the chance here. And Rich is going to show you a good line here. It's a little tight around the tree, but if you go a little bit wider and land in front of those trees, you've got an easy approach to the basket. This was my shot that went to the left side of the fairway. I'm just throwing a forehand around, skipping off the road, and that's a long look at a birdie from the long tee. The rough on these open holes, though, is very thick. There's not good angles to get out. You can get into some really rough positions. No pun intended. From my first tee shot, I'm electing to throw a thumber between these trees, and that's going to be putting for birdie from the long tee as well. in a better position, I would say, than my other one. Bill also mentioned that he's been taking some forehand lessons from Brad Schick. And he'll tell you that he didn't throw that one very well, but he did throw a couple nice forehands out there. So shout out to Brad Schick, who recently won his first major. That is fantastic. Congratulations, Brad. Great little pitch out roller there from Bill's forehand is going to get him under the basket. And this is another one of those protected greens. We got trees right up around the basket. Moving on to hole 2. Long tee here is 370 feet. Short tee 340. The basket is out there where the sunlight's kind of hitting the ground, about as far as you can see there. Really tight fairway from up here. Bill had a good looking shot. Does actually get through clean and fades way off to the left, but that's a good spot to be. From the short tee here, you can see there is a nice little like hyzer flip route, which is kind of what I was going for, and I just overturned it or didn't turn it early enough. Kick a little tree off to the right. It's not bad. Rich is going with his Luna and gets a nice little tree kick there towards the end down the fairway. Still 340 feet from the short tee is a big chunk of distance. I think the name of the game out here is to pick your most confident straight shot that you can bite off, a decent bit of distance and not try and do too much from the rough. I think Bill's shot there from the rough was maybe trying to go too far. If he had tried to get maybe 150 feet down into the middle of the fairway, he would have had an easy shot, take an easy bogey, and move on. So I think this is from my first tee shot from the longs. Kind of leaked right with that kick and just trying to flex that Conrad Envy around. Doesn't really work out. And still a good 80, 90 feet from the basket. You may also want to practice your patent pending, your kind of weird stance, because just so many times you land with a tree in your swing or something weird, and you don't want to be racking your knuckles on a tree. Great little zone up shot there from Rich, is right under the basket. Great shot. This was Bill's first shot from the long tee. Got across the creek, but he's got like a straight line over to the basket. And gave it a great run for a great birdie from the long tee. That would have been fantastic. And that one looked like it was in, but we'll clean up on a decent open green here on hole 2 and move on to hole 3. All right, hole 3 is a tricky one. The long tee and short tee are pretty close together, 410 versus 400. It just kind of changes the angle. This is a par 4, and there's almost a 90-degree turn halfway through the hole. So you're trying to advance across this ravine, and you want to get left. Get the disc to fade, skip, whatever you can, and get over to the left-hand side. This is a phenomenal shot from Bill. It's going to put him right in the middle of the fairway, if you can call it a fairway. And we'll see kind of where that landed in a little bit. Here from the short tee, the angle's just slightly different. We had no idea where we were going. So this first shot with my F5 is actually in a pretty good position because it gets to the left. I have a better angle toward the next part of the fairway. Going right here is essentially taking you away from the basket. So make sure your tee shot gets you to the left if you can. Throw something over stable, flex it out, whatever you need to do. And even Rich's shot that kicked left, like he wasn't really excited about, but put him in a good position. Now up ahead, there's a white sign on the tree that says next tee. That's actually pointing you toward the basket for this hole. So you want to get through, there's kind of a gap. There's two logs laying in the fairway with like a little spot that's been cut out for you to follow. And that's going to take you to the basket. And even after your second shot, you may still not be able to see the basket over the hill. So we'll eventually get to a point where we can see it. Okay, so there's those two downed logs in front of me here, and there's a little gap to walk through. That's the indication of what direction to go. So if your shot went straight off of the tee, you would then have to turn 90 degrees left and throw through this gap, and the basket is over the crest of this hill about another 50 feet. And that's actually a great shot from Rich. He gets over the hill, so he's going to be able to see the basket. This is that first drive from from Bill, and this is exactly where you want to be. You're right by these two logs. He's got a straight line over the hill. We walked up before this shot so you could see where the basket was. And he overturned that a little bit, but great kick. Nice little skip and slide over the hill. And there it is, finally. We can see the basket. Once again, well protected. And you can see, Rich had a good shot, but still had to take this weird stance. Bill was almost in the exact same place, so they're trying to not square up to this Y tree in front of the basket. So very difficult to find a good stance for putting on this course. Ooh, a little point of view putt, nice. All right, hole 4 from the long tee, 420 feet. You're aiming for the little patch of sunlight there straight ahead. No out of bounds, but some very, very steep ravines. There's a creek that runs through this that is a good 10, 15 feet down into it. That's a great shot from Bill. That's going to land in the fairway. And I'm going to line up my very pretty PDGA Quake for a little hyzer shot and do a little tree trimming. If you see the huge branch fall down there, that also gets into the fairways. That's a good shot. From the short tee, it's a much straighter shot, though you do have a tree kind of immediately off the tee right in front of you. I think most people are going to go with a backhand to the left of that tree, so kind of lining up along the left side of the tee pad, which is what I'm going to try and do. And I'm hoping just to barely flip this up through that gap. And I nearly did it, but that's going to kick right, and that filters all the way down into that creek that we're going to see here in a second. Ooh, shaky cam. That was exciting. Hope nobody's got motion sensitivity. And, we want to show you good shots, but we want to be realistic, and you're going to hit first available on some of these holes, and you're going to be scrambling. It's just the way that this course is going to play. So prepare yourself for that mentally, that it's okay to hit a tree. You're going to hit trees. You cannot possibly avoid it. And you might also land in some creeks like this, and you're going to have to climb down. And you're going to see exactly how sweaty I am after only 4 holes on this course. Good gracious. So I do eventually make it down and discover that there's nothing to do from down there. in the creek, but I did find my disc, so that's good. And I'm just tossing a thumber to get out of there. And that ends up in the rough on the left side of the fairway. I do also want to point out the name of this course is very appropriate. Burr Oak. I think there are still some burrs on the leggings that I was wearing, and there is still a little bit of a burr in my finger as I speak, which is unpleasant. There are also a lot of thorns off the fairways, so be careful when you're trudging along out there. I would definitely recommend long pants, leggings, something. Bill was complaining about scraping up his legs almost immediately when we got out here, so prepare for that as well. There's a little bit of a creek that runs behind this basket, and definitely risk of rollaways here, so try and match the angle of the ground when you land your disc. Alright, we got some good putts on the well-protected green of hole 4, and we're moving on to hole 5. This is another split par 4 for the long tees at 445, or par 3 at 290 for the short tee. You've got this kind of triangle created by these trees that you're trying to get under. And Bill hits the first one on the left there. There's some really difficult footing too directly under those trees. So kicking straight down is not ideal. This shot is way too high, but it does get pretty far down the fairway. It's not in a terrible position. There's several downed trees and logs and stumps right along the gap between these two tees. So this is a difficult spot for the long tee if you kick down. But look at this recovery shot from Bill. He gets through clean all the way down into the middle of the fairway. That's a great shot. This hole is going to bend slightly to the right, so a forehand or I think more of a turnover for a right-hand backhand is ideal. Rich is going to throw his SV. And that was the perfect angle. If it could have missed that tree, it would have made it probably all the way to the basket. I think another key to success here on this track is going to be patience. You know, line up the shot you want to throw. That was definitely not the shot I wanted to throw. But be patient, you know, take your time and look at your lie. Look at what you're standing on, loose brush, you know. Don't be afraid to knock it out of the way and get clean footing if you can. The best I can do here from my little kickoff to the right is to pitch across this little ravine and hopefully not kick down into it. And I'm very happy with that, just to be able to tap it in for what I think is a bogey. I'm not sure. We weren't really keeping score, or at least I wasn't. Oh, and that was such a good run from Bill. That would have been a birdie, I think, from the long tee. So yeah, there's some of those birds. And Bill's also showing us a James Conrad Special Edition Nomad. Still have some of those in stock. Moving on to hole 6. Long tee, 315 feet. Biggest obstacle is probably the bench from the short tee, to be honest. Otherwise, this is a pretty straightforward, short little hyzer shot. And even though Bill kind of skipped that into the ground, it gets into a good position. Here from the short tee, you can actually see the basket. We're getting into a stretch of scoreable holes here, so this is where you want to put some scores together towards the end of your round. And that is the worst case scenario on this hole. If you kick left, you're going to go way downhill into some thick brush. I would recommend a putter or mid-range, something you can just throw straight. Even this one looked like it was going to be a little bit long or left, and that's in a great position for an easy birdie. So Rich had to pitch out from the rough on the left-hand side, and he's just got a little turnover shot there toward the basket. Almost throws it in. That was a great shot. And sinks the putt to save a bogey. This one for birdie, and again, my shot looked like it was too far left, but you know, I'm only 15 feet away. It's a really nice line. Hole 7 is a par 3, long tee 260 feet, short tee 175. This is in A position as well. And I think I'm lining up my tenacity. It's a high-speed driver, but it's very straight. It doesn't turn a lot. It doesn't fade a lot. And it was on a great line until it hit that tree. Which I still want. I still want a chance at this hole, but that's okay. Your view from the short tee here is nice. You can actually see the basket once again. So 175 feet, slightly uphill. Throw something straight. And Bill gives that a little bit of an ace run. That was a great shot. See Rich line up his Luna, which I expect he'll be throwing quite a bit in the tournament as well. Both Bill and Rich are playing in Burr Oak as well, so this was a kind of a practice round for them as well. And my shot that got me in the rough here, a lot of thorns, which I'm trying to step on so that they're not poking me in the leg. And I was very pleased with this roller. Put me right up there in range to save par. See Bill kind of pitch out here from one of his other shots. And just spits out left side. Clean up a couple putts here and move on to our final 2 holes, which are going to be a challenge because you've been in the woods, you've been trying to hit lines, and then all of a sudden you're out in the open. So we're up here at the top of the hill, the entrance to the park. Hole 8 from the long tee throws over the road, so you have to make it over the road on your drive, or you proceed to the drop zone. That's only for the long tee. Any other shots, normal OB applies. So road or surrounded by concrete and beyond is out of bounds. This basket is tucked into the trees on the right side of the road. So watch out for cars coming in and out of the park, and also watch out for the long and short tees on hole 9. So this shot from Bill would have been out of bounds. I'm going to go with a thumber because I know my thumber bends to the right. And this is looking perfect, but when it hits, it rolls left with the hill instead of right, and it's going to land on the road. Next up, we have Rich from the short tee. He's going to flick his zone down there. And I think he's going to end up in a decent spot to putt for birdie. Just 276 feet from the short tee downhill, so you don't need to bite off too much. So if I were inbounds, this is right about where I would have landed. And again, Bill would have been out of bounds over there, but now we know. There I am sitting in the background. All right, and this is going to be your finishing hole, hole 9. This is a bomb. Long tee, 725. Short tee, 600. It is sharply to the right. You're going to actually follow the road to the right, and it's maybe only 20 feet from the road on the right. I'm throwing my thrasher. I'm trying to put a big turn on it, and the wind just doesn't let it turn enough, and that would be out of bounds left. Bill is going to try a different line. I believe he's going to go over the trees on the right. Oh no, this was a lower shot. So you kind of lose sight of it a little bit there. You should see it hit the grass in the fairway right there. And that's a good shot from the long. From the short tee here, all I can say is do not land in these trees on the right. I lost a disc in there. Rich tried to lose one. It's really, really thick rough. So avoid at all costs. And this is a great shot. Nice little turnover, gets way down there. And back into the fairway. All right, we pick up with Bill a little ways down the fairway. And he's just going for a little turnover to try and get around the corner. That cut rolls to take him back away from the basket. Rich is in a really good position. He's going with his forehand high. Give it time to hyzer to the right. And that looks too tight, but it is not. That is in a great spot. Where you don't want to be, again, is anywhere in this rough on the right-hand side. It is so thick. And it really cuts off your angle to get back toward the basket. But Rich does great with that shot. And gets right over there. I believe that was from a different lie that he was practicing a shot from the rough there. And here you've got out of bounds road right next to the basket. This is going to test it. But it's safe. Just barely. And Bill cleans up there on hole 9. So you finish right back at the parking lot. Although you won't be parking there, I should point out. So make sure you check the caddy info from Kristy on where you'll be parking and catching a shuttle from the lodge to the course at Burr Oak State Park for the Burr Oak Blitz on September 25th and 6th. Thank you so much for watching. As always, we hope we put together an informative preview round for you. Make sure you stop by. The visitor center is supposed to be open on Saturday, so come check out the wildlife in there and cool stuff about the park. And don't forget to stop by and shop with us, as we will be on site both days with all your favorites. We've got Innova, we got some Discraft, we got a lot of good stuff. Retrievers, like I said, some cool bags, new shirts, and kind of dry fit material from Jim Toll at Flyware Apparel. So thank you, Jim. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a good one.